America's interest first. This is not a message to anyone in the world that America should be apologetic of its CO2 position. We are actually making tremendous advances. We're just not going to agree to frameworks and agreements that put us at an economic disadvantage and hurt citizens across this country. Yes, sir.
Though that you're putting your head in the sand, though, Mr. Pruitt. They were a little worried that you're putting your head in the sand.
Well, there's no evidence of that.
Now, the other unsettling thing that happened later on in the briefing, Wolf, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer was asked about how he was asked earlier this week whether he had talked to the president about this belief that the president apparently has that climate change is a hoax. During that briefing earlier this week, Spicer told reporters that he would come back at some point and provide that answer in the briefing room. So he was pressed on that again today and asked, well, what is the answer? Does the president still believe climate change is a hoax? And Spicer did not have an answer to the question today, Wolf, despite having several days to work on just that one question. And of course, when the press secretary to the president of the United States is struggling to provide answers in the briefing room, then ultimately, undoubtedly, at some point, the questions are going to start to be about the future of the press secretary. And I think that's the problem that Sean Spicer has when he can't answer a basic question like that to reporters, Wolf.
Yeah, they've been asked, as you point out, a few days ago about it. I'll get back to you. They had a few days and didn't get back to the reporters. Jim Acosta, thanks very much for that report. Let's get some more on all of this. Senator Ed Markey is joining us. He's a Democrat on the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right, we got a lot to discuss, but I want to begin with next week's scheduled testimony from the former FBI Director James Comey, scheduled to appear before the Senate Intelligence Committee Thursday morning for the first time since he was fired by President Trump. The White House now is considering invoking executive privilege to block his testimony. Are you worried that the president will prevent Comey from giving a full account of their exchanges?
Yeah, that would actually create a complete mess of this investigation of the potential Russian interference in the American elections. I think that the American people have a right to know whether or not, in fact, President Trump asked Jim Comey to pledge his loyalty to Donald Trump, whether or not he asked Comey to let the Flynn investigation go, whether or not he told the president that on three separate occasions that the president was not under investigation, because we have to get the answers to those questions. And if the president attempts to invoke executive privilege, that would just continue to raise the question of obstruction of justice, which the very firing of Jim Comey has raised in the minds of the American people.
Senator, would the Senate respect the president's invocation of executive privilege, or will the Senate force the president to go to court, a federal court, and ask that court to block Director Comey from appearing?
Well, I would hope that Democrats and Republicans would put politics aside, put party aside, and put the best interest of our nation front and center, because ultimately the American people are entitled to these issues, and the Senate has prerogatives as well, which the president cannot truncate. So I would hope that Democrats and Republicans will stand strong and insist that Comey testify, and if the president attempts to invoke executive privilege, that the Senate use all of its prerogatives, including going to court, in order to ensure that Comey tells the Senate, and through the Senate, the American people, what happened during that Russian investigation.
Well, Senator, I also want to get your thoughts on the White House punting all Russia-related questions to outside private legal counsel. Listen to Sean Spicer at the White House briefing today.
Can you clarify the nature of the conversations that Jared Kushner had with Russian officials and a banker in December? And what was the date of the meeting with the banker?
I cannot, and as I've mentioned the other day, that we're focused on the president's agenda, and going forward, all questions on these matters will be referred to outside counsel Mark Cassidy.
But how can you not answer questions on it when the president himself tweets about it?
We're focused on his agenda, and going forward, all questions on this matter will be referred to outside counsel.
So what do you think of the White House strategy here, Senator Markey, especially in light of the fact that the president himself continues to frequently tweet, I should say, about the Russia probe, calling it a witch hunt?
Well, they want to go dark. They don't want to have to respond. They want private counsel to respond and then private counsel to say we can't comment. And as a result, the American public won't be able to ask or get the answers to these questions. So again, it's just a further attempt to obfuscate, a further attempt to cover up the information which the American people have a right to know the answer to, including what was the subject material that Jared Kushner actually talked about with the Russian banker. What was the subject material that Jared Kushner talked to Ambassador Kislyak about? The American people right now have a question about the compromise of their election last year, the presidential election, and during the transition period, what was the Trump administration doing? This is just another attempt to kind of sweep it under the rug, hope that time passes, hope that people lose their focus, that the press goes away, that other issues will arise. But it's not going to happen, Mr. President. The pressure is going to continue to mount until you give the American people the answers to these key questions. And every day that you delay is a step closer to a constitutional crisis.
As you know, there's a lot of speculation that the subject of those conversations may have been U.S. sanctions against Russia and lifting those sanctions. The former coordinator for sanctions policy at the State Department says it would be a free gift if the Trump administration were to relieve Russia of those sanctions without receiving anything in return. Do you worry that the Trump administration is going to take that step?
I do worry. I think that, unfortunately, Donald Trump has given signals that he believes that cozy cooperation with Putin is the pathway to a better world. But in Crimea, in the Ukraine, in Syria, in the compromise of the American presidential election in 2016, how many instances do we need to understand that Putin does not care about the values of human rights and of the values which are central to what America stands for? So I am very concerned that if the signal was ever sent from the Trump transition team that sanctions could be relieved without any actions by Russia to improve their own behavior, that would only further embolden Putin to continue to engage in these reckless activities, which in fact are undermining national security for the United States and for the rest of the world.
Very quickly, Senator, what about that report in the Washington Post that the Trump administration is actually moving toward the possibility of returning 2 diplomatic compounds to the Russians, one on the eastern shore of Maryland outside of Washington, one out on Long Island outside of New York. Those compounds, as you know, were confiscated in December in retaliation for Russian election meddling. What message would that send? Because you know the Russians, they really want those 2 compounds back.
Again, it's a signal to the Russian government that they're going to get what they want without, in fact, giving the United States what it needs. And that is just not acceptable. It is, again, almost like his decision to back out of the Paris Climate Accord, a presidential indifference to the role that the United States must play on these critical global issues to provide leadership for the entire planet. Giving back those diplomatic residences without a change in behavior by the Russians would be another historic mistake.
All right, Senator, stand by. There's more we need to discuss. There are other developments unfolding even as we speak. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Sailing through the heart of cities and landscapes with Viking, you'll see things differently. You'll get closer to iconic landmarks, to local life, and cultural treasures. It's an experience only a river cruise with Viking can give you. Spend less time getting there and more time being there. Call Viking or your travel agent for special offers now. And learn more at vikingcruises.com.
Whatever it is that makes your business great, promote it with Vistaprint. Choose from banners, postcards, or business cards, each starting at less than $10 when you enter TV10 at Vistaprint.com.
Have you been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic spine conditions? Are you ready to find lasting relief? Call Laser Spine Institute, the nation's leader in minimally invasive spine surgery, to learn how a less than 1-inch incision can have you up and walking within a few hours of surgery, free from chronic back pain, and with no hospital stay and no lengthy recovery.
Call 1-844-437-BACK now for your no-cost MRI review.
Take your first step in joining over 60,000 patients who found lasting relief at Laser Spine Institute.
I woke up in recovery and there was absolutely no pain at all. It's amazing now. I can get on the bike, I can go anywhere. The Laser Spine Institute gave me my life back. I'm still going strong today because of them.
If you've been told you might need neck or back surgery, call 1-844-437-BACK now for your no-cost MRI review.
Laser Spine Institute, a less than 1-inch incision, a lifetime of standing tall.
Did you notice that there's so many prices out there for the exact same room? I know. I've been asking this a lot lately, but this is what it really means. The same hotel room can have up to 10 different prices across the internet. So even if you spend a lot of time looking around, chances are that it's still out there for a better price. So make one last check before you book. The Trivago check. Trivago compares prices from over 150 websites to make sure you find your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, isn't it time to let the real you shine through? Introducing Otezla, a Premolast. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. Some people who took Otezla saw 75% clearer skin after 4 months. And Otezla's prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't take Otezla if you are allergic to any of its ingredients. Otezla may increase the risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Side effects may include diarrhea, nausea, upper respiratory tract infection, and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take, and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ask your dermatologist about Otezla today. Otezla. Show more of you.
Pass with non-drowsy Allegra. Use as directed.
Allergies can hold you back. Break through with non-drowsy Allegra for fast 5-in-1 multi-symptom relief. Break through allergies with Allegra.
We're back with Democratic Senator Ed Markey following the fallout from the president's decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement. Senator, at the White House press briefing, the EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, the press secretary Sean Spicer, they joined a long list now of Trump administration officials who can't seem to answer a simple question. Does the president still believe climate change is a hoax? You remember, he's tweeted back in 2012, he tweeted, the concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive. A year later, he tweeted, ice storms roll from Texas to Tennessee. I'm in Los Angeles, and it's freezing. Global warming is a total and very expensive hoax. So why can't these officials now answer the simple question, does the president still believe what he tweeted back then?
Because Donald Trump's climate science is as bogus as a degree from Trump University, which is where I think he's getting his climate science from. And he basically has decided he's going to honor his pledge to 70,000 coal miners in our country and break the pledge the United States made to the world and break the pledge which this generation of Americans should keep to every subsequent generation of Americans to avoid the most catastrophic consequences of climate change. And so he's just listening to Steve Bannon, to the climate deniers, and trying to make his base be happy, even if the National Academy of Sciences of every single country in the world has concluded that science of climate change is absolutely and totally non-debatable with regard to it accelerating and it being caused by human activity.
The president, he's receiving, as you know, a lot of fierce blowback from leaders around the world, including very close allies for this decision to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement. I want you to listen to this. This is the new president of France, Emmanuel Macron.
Because wherever we live, whoever we are, we all share the same responsibility. Make our planet great again.
All right, so you just heard him co-opt the president's campaign slogan. So is the decision to pull out of the Paris Agreement a major blow to America's standing out there on the world stage when you have these allies very, very critical of the U.S. decision?
Yes, it completely undermines our credibility as a global leader. It is an abdication of American economic opportunity, of our national security interests, of the public health implications of sending all of this additional pollution up into the air that leads to asthma, heart disease, and it's a moral failure. Pope Francis asked him to be the leader, to step up. And as the chairman of the Climate Change Committee in the House of Representatives for 4 years, I chaired 100 hearings on this subject. And across the world, from Ban Ki-moon to the Prime Minister of Sweden, who testified before the committee, there was unanimity of opinion that this was real, it would be catastrophic, but it would also offer tremendous economic opportunity to create millions of jobs in our country. And what the president has decided to do is to cede that leadership to China, to France, to Germany, who will be now much more likely to reap the economic benefits of a revolution which is just going to continue unabated with the United States on the sidelines.
Senator Markey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Just ahead, we'll have more on the breaking news. Will the president invoke executive privilege to try to silence James Comey? And if he does, will that work? Our specialists are standing by. And why is the White House fueling a climate of uncertainty by refusing to answer a burning question?
What does the president actually believe about climate change? Does he still believe it's a hoax? Could you clarify that, since apparently nobody else in the White House can?
Yeah, I have not had an opportunity to have that discussion.
There's nothing traditional about my small business. So when it comes to technology, I need someone that understands my unique needs. My Dell Small Business Advisor has gotten to know our business so well that it feels like he's a part of our team. With one phone call, he sets me up with tailored products and services, and when my advisor is focused on my tech, I can focus on my small business.
How do we say that this summer, if guests book direct at choicehotels.com and stay twice, they'll get a $50 gift card?
Summertime. Bada book, bada boom.
Got you a shirt. I kept the receipt.
Book now at choicehotels.com.
Tired of painful mosquito bites? Horrified when bugs crawl on you? Are mosquitoes and bugs ruining your evening outdoors? Are bugs getting in your house? Now you can get the bugs before they get you with a Zap Light. The Zap Light is both a bug zapper and a bright LED light combined into one. The bright LED light draws bugs in from a wide area, and the Zap Light kills them on contact. So instead of being attracted to you, the bugs are attracted to the bright LED light. Then, zap. It's fast, it's easy, and it's effective. Bug spray is messy, smelly, and doesn't get rid of the bugs. It simply deters them. The Zap Light is not a deterrent. It is a permanent solution. The Zap Light is made of the highest quality material and houses a 60-watt LED bulb that will last over 15,000 hours. And the Zap Light installs as easy as screwing in any standard